Ah, the Blair Witch Project. Now that is a story.
Oh yeah, that's a story.
I've heard stories about her.
That is a story.
Yeah, it's a story.
Story
was about 10 feet tall, and it looked like a gorilla.
They say in October of 1997, a pair of filmmakers hired a bunch of actors to shake a camera around in the woods and film a bunch of stones and sticks.
4.
After 8 days of lopping in the woods as lost film students, the lead actress managed to get the camera lodged in her nose. And on the way back from the emergency room, the directors took them all out to the local Denny's. Oh, Blair Witch, Volume 1, Rustin Pa by Terminal Reality. Oh wait, I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself. To fully appreciate these games, you need to have at least some basic knowledge of the films. While at the Denny's, one of the directors was chewing on burnt sausage when he realized that they didn't shoot an ending and they didn't have the budget for the ending they had originally planned. They rushed back to the state park where they had filmed their 8-day roleplay session and decided to make use of a nearby abandoned house. They very quickly filmed whatever they could come up with for an ending, but everything they tried was embarrassing and unusable.
That looks like teeth marks.
They really liked the take where one actor was awkwardly strung up to look like he was crucified and just stared at the camera bored. But during the process of editing the hundreds of hours of recorded footage, they mistakenly overwrote the shot with one they accidentally took of him taking a frothy piss in the corner. Quickly, they cobbled together the story behind the significance of this corner. The abandoned house would become the home of Rustin Pa, a man who, under the influence of the Blair Witch, had killed a bunch of kids in 1941. You see, he made one of the kids sit in the corner. It's very spooky. To really hammer home the importance of this corner, they shot an additional scene to be inserted into the beginning of the film, where a humble Utes?
Yeah, I've got a bag of Utz.
Ah, thank you. A humble Utz peddler tells her protagonists about the rich lore of Rustin Pa's Spook Shack, which brings us to the first in a trilogy of games published by Gathering of Developers. Terminal Reality's Blair Witch Volume 1 released on October 4th of 2000, just in time for Halloween.
How did you kill the children, Mr. Park? With knives?
Despite being in the title, Rustin Pa is not a playable character, much to the dismay of many gamers who were hoping for a child murder simulator. Set a few days after he turned himself in, the player character is tasked with investigating the supernatural rumors around Burkittsville that Pa's recent murders have stirred up. I can already see where this is going. The game is probably going to mirror the beginning of the film and have you interview people and do a bit of detective work. The survival horror genre has come a long way since 1983's Horror House Part 2. Video games don't have to be video games. It's not like they can have you in the woods blasting monsters left and right. There wasn't even a single supernatural entity shown in the source material. And while this was a result of budgetary restrictions, how much it left up to viewer interpretation is ultimately one of the film's greatest... Oh.
How did your instructional execution go this time, stranger?
Good.
There's always...
Oh wow, it's Strange Man from Terminal Reality's Nocturne. You see, Terminal Reality wanted to make a follow-up to Nocturne with all of their hardcore original characters, but their mom wouldn't let them. So they just crammed them all into this license project.
We've given you a large wooden stake. It's designed to be a truly silent weapon.
I may need my map for this.
The game opens with Dr. Elspeth Holliday having her ability to poke monsters to death with a stick, tested by the secret government supernatural extermination agency known as
Spook House.
Spook House.
Spook House?
Yes, it's called Spook House.
Spook House.
Spook House.
Spook House.
Okay, that's enough.
Not even the president knows the true nature of our organization.
Ah, yes, the current president of the United States is kept in the dark about the organization President Roosevelt founded to combat the werewolf problem he felt was a threat to the entire country. Ha. Imagine picking up a game based on a phenomenally successful film and not knowing the lore to a niche action title you didn't play. What a complete and utter fool you would have to be. An absolute imbecile. Much like most chapters in Nocturne, after the tutorial you are set loose in Spook House to gather optional exposition from various characters.
Damn it, stranger. You've been going through my things again. How many times do I have to tell you hands off?
Oh, hey, it's the half-vampire Svetlana. They bothered to give her entirely new textures, even though she's only here for about a minute and will never be seen in another video game. Ever again. Я больше не могу быть его top. Cool Eye Patch Man wants to send Holiday and Stranger to investigate the rumors of the Blair Witch the Parr murders have stirred up, but Stranger, being nihilistic with an IQ of over 300, knows that the legend of the Blair Witch won't even be a thing until it's fabricated for the movie in the mid-90s.
If something's not there, it's not there. You can look all you want.
So Holiday is sent to Burkittsville on her own to investigate the potential supernatural involvement in the heinous actions of one insane old man, who very well may have just been going senile at the age of 38. Wow, someone send this old codger to the nursing home.
Welcome to Burkittsville, ma'am. What are you doing? I see. So you're... Here's your key. I put you in room 4. How long do you think you'll be staying with us?
The gameplay of Blair Witch Volume 1 can be broken down into 2 categories, the town and the forest. In the town sections, you talk to the locals and gather information. This is honestly the most appealing part of the game. It's filled with references to the film. Remember Mary Brown?
You had an encounter with Blair Witch?
Yeah, the crazy old woman who claimed to have seen the witch.
She opened up her shop. She had like a horse stick.
Here she is as a child.
You look sad.
I can't find Mr. Brownie.
What does he look like?
He's brown.
There's no question that Mary Brown is very racist.
Give yourself a little gift every day, even if it's just a cup of really good coffee.
Thank you, plot mandatory reference to Francis York Morgan from Deadly Premonition. I recognize the theme. I'm pretty cool, right? With the setting sun making it unwise to enter the murder woods and investigate Parr's creepy cabin, Holiday decides to just go to bed with all of her clothes on. It's not because Terminal Reality didn't want to make another model. Much like in Nocturne, Blair Witch also has a Holiday model with a lot less clothing in its data files. Oh wait, never mind, there it is. They used it. But no, the real reason why she is fully dressed with her disgusting boots on the bed is because she knew she was going to get jump spooked into a nightmare sequence where she has to fight Damites.
Excuse me, are you a Damite? God, I loathe Damites.
Racist! I guess this is one way to shoehorn an action sequence into a game based on a movie with no action.
I'm gonna wear you like hats.
Huh.
This must be where pies go when they die.
Oh, I didn't realize Terminal Reality got the legendary frog to come up with the dialogue for their horror game.
He will eat you.
Ah, yes, that reminds me. At any point, you can press F10 and type, "Get into my belly," to give yourself all of the weapons from Nocturne, some of which are pretty broken in more ways than one. But honestly, this little Damite section isn't very good. After killing all of them, you are treated to a cutscene where Holiday executes a passive child Damite for maximum comedic effect before it is revealed that there were no Damites and she has just slaughtered the entire town.
What's happened? What have I done? I've killed all of them.
Oops.
Uh-oh.
Oh no! Are you okay?
Holiday decides to investigate Parr's horror hovel, but finds that the townspeople have burned it down. But wait, how can the house be almost entirely leveled when it's shown to still be mostly intact in every other piece of Blair Witch media? There is an explanation to this. The Blair Witch can control time and space and really just do whatever she wants. There are no rules. Just look at this Mary Sue. On her way back to town, Holiday begins to notice that she has been walking in circles, but before she can even begin to get mildly annoyed, she stumbles across a magical Native American.
Wait, you're Brown. Are you Mr. Brownie?
No.
Oh God, what have I done? No! 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 Ah!
As Gaia tells her of the demon Hekaida mix, the witch draws her power from. Or maybe it's the demon behind everything, and there is no witch. Or the witch is the demon. Or maybe there is no demon and it's an awful CG puppet witch who chooses to hang around the Parr house because audiences clap when they recognize it. Or it's all just superstition and there isn't actually anything in the woods. I'm pretty sure they are officially never allowed to clarify, mostly because even the filmmakers don't know. Or care, really. What is important is that the demon kidnapped a Native American child hundreds of years ago and is using his eternal suffering as a battery so it can use its powers to play sick pranks on film students.
Simply touch the boy.
As Gaia then hands Holiday a magic stick figure that will prevent her from getting lost in the forest. It's, too bad those dead kids didn't bump into a Native American. At this point, we are properly introduced to the game's second category of gameplay. Running back and forth across the forest fighting monsters. This is just lame padding designed to waste your life. The monsters aren't terribly interesting and thankfully are very easy to just run past and ignore. The zombies' attack is completely busted. Moving the mouse slightly or pressing any key when they grab you will immediately break Holiday out of the animation before they can deal damage. But more importantly, some of the zombie models have more detailed butts than others. It's not really much of a forest, honestly. It's more like a series of gray, uninteresting corridors with cardboard cutout trees despite using pre-rendered backgrounds. Why? But you know what? I'll take this over a colorful hell maze, like the forest in that one game I found in a dumpster outside of the local Denny's. Ah yes, that's the one. It wasn't very good, and I haven't been able to make the vision stop. The only thing you can't run from are the bosses. Hey, remember that part in the movie where they fought off a giant scorpion? Yeah, the Blair Witch teleported a giant scorpion from the Permian period into the present day just to mess with those film students. Remember, there's nothing she can't do. Holiday also has to fight a giant spider made of twigs. Now, this creature wasn't in any of the movies, but you weaken it by knocking over its piles of rocks. You know, just like the piles of rocks in the film that they find and slowly count. Yeah, hats off to Terminal Reality for trying their best to adapt the limited source material into an interesting video game. Or should I say, rocks? Holiday meets a disproportionate anime man and ends up in a dimension where the Parr house is still intact. It's fully explorable and fairly faithful to what was seen in the film too, which is really nice. Holiday goes down to the basement where she accidentally intrudes on the ending of the film, and finally, all of our questions are answered. The reason why Heather suddenly went quiet and dropped the camera is because she was busy transforming into a spooky specter. And the reason why Mike was standing in the corner was because he was staring at one of the children Holiday met in town. The boy runs off and Holiday concludes that the boy has been possessed, so she chases the little shit down.
Kyle, are you all right?
She then discovers that the local priest has been killing people for the Blair Witch, or was it the demon, and is about to lure Mary Brown into the woods to use as a sacrifice.
Come, Mary. This woman is an agent of Satan. Good God, you've killed Pastor Ascot.
Ah, yes. In a shocking twist, the townspeople are revealed to be evil spirits, and Holiday opens fire with a taxpayer-funded anti-vampire gun, even if this were a hallucination like in the dream earlier. At worst, the sun gun would just be giving all of these people melanoma.
Have I been holding this the entire time? Oh God, what have I done?
You murdered the town. You're a truly dangerous criminal, Doc. Good. You won, Doc. You beat it. Let's go.
Pretty great. I'd rate it an 8.8. Oh, no, 7 out of 10. 6 out of 10. 5. Yeah, 5 out of 10. Then again, I did see a tit. 7 out of 10. Human Heads Blair Witch Volume 2 Coffin Rock released on October 30th of 2000, just in time for Halloween, the theatrical release of Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2. It wasn't very good.
Last summer, just in time for Halloween, 5 strangers returned to the woods to uncover the woods.
Woods are just trees.
Well, at least this game should be easy to talk about because there isn't really anything to talk about. It's kind of poo. It's a straightforward game that is entirely focused on combat. Despite this, it has the worst combat out of the trilogy. The only weapons you have for the entire game are the pathetic pistol and the cross that only affects ghosts. Oh, that's unfortunate. The game opens with a compressed clip from the first film of Heather describing the incident at Coffin Rock in 1886 involving several men searching for a missing girl.
Each was bound to the other, the men still entranced by the stench of each man's feet, their flesh forming a solid structure.
Are you okay, mister?
A little girl finds a blue man with a head injury and memory loss in the woods and brings him home to her grandmother, who tells him that Lazarus would make a good name for a video game protagonist.
Lazarus?
Lazarus.
Lazarus.
I can feel the men inside of me.
The little girl then goes missing, and Grandma warns Lazarus not to join the search party because she saw the intro and knows how they end up.
Those people are going to their deaths, and don't ask me how, I just know it.
Lazarus then fights his way through the woods on his own, passing out every time he reaches the next area so he can have flashbacks of killing rebels in the Civil War, effectively making you play through every area twice. It's soon revealed that the reason Lazarus lost his memory is because one of his own men shot him in the head. And after that, he was resurrected by the Blair Witch to prevent the demon from completing a ritual at Coffin Rock to summon itself. It's kind of like that other Woods game where you prevent the summoning of a demon. You find the remains of the search party.
Look at my innards! They dragged him out of me! Oh, God!
Wow, what a twist. I did not see this coming. Lazarus confronts the demon and remembers his real name.
My name is Robert McNichol.
This probably would have more impact if it wasn't one of the first things he said in one of the first flashbacks.
Lieutenant Robert McNichol, reporting as ordered, sir.
He interrupts the ritual by taking a big sippy of the good goo, which then activates his devil trigger.
That's a Devil May Cry reference. Pretty cool, right?
That's epic.
And then you fight a demon in the Parr House for some reason, and the game ends in less than 2 hours. A solid 3 out of 10. Easily the worst in the trilogy. Ritual Entertainment's Blair Witch Volume 3, The Ellie Kedward Tale, hit store shelves on the 25th of November 2000.
Just in time for Halloween.
Despite being in the title, Ellie Kedward is not a playable character. Set a few days after she had been accused of witchcraft and left for dead by the people of the Blair Township, the player takes the role of Pry, a priest turned witch hunter who has lost his faith.
God has left.
He has been summoned to the town of Blair after several children have mysteriously vanished.
My good lady, where are your
lips? Where are your lips?
Oh yeah, everyone looks like a funny cartoon character now. You would think this would be a jarring stylistic choice to suddenly spring on the third game of a trilogy. But, as illustrated by the crossover in Volume 1, this is just what people looked like in 1785. Ritual Entertainment didn't find the Blair Witch Project to be very scary or interesting, so they just focused on making a video game as far removed from the source material as possible. Pry goes through all of the video game levels and takes on video game bosses to rescue children who look on in disinterest. You get an impressive arsenal of magic and weapons to play with, and all of the enemies drop health and ammo because this isn't a horror game by any stretch of the imagination. Ellie Kedward's pupil, who is helping Pry get through the video game levels, suddenly reveals she was merely pretending because she was just being ironic, and therefore very funny.
Never trust a witch. You fool. Now Lord Hecatomix will come. We will join together and ravage your loathsome body.
And now there is a boss fight against a violently spinning camera, but also the woman who has transformed into some sort of, green thing with boobs. Well anyway, she gets stuck on the terrain and you smack her to death for free. But that isn't dead enough, so they also burn her. Of course, instead of killing her, you do also have the option of dealing the final blow with the Bible, removing the demon from her body.
Come with me, Jonathan. We can leave this place and start a new life. Together.
It cannot be.
Please forgive me, Jonathan.
I will not.
I was being controlled by...
You must listen to me, Elizabeth. I will not rest until you hang. Thank God you're not alive.
6. Thus concludes the Blair Witch game trilogy. Unfortunately, the film Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2 was so horrid that its toxic stench had choked the very life out of the Blair Witch brand. But for some reason, almost 2 decades later, in August of 2019, we got a new game from Bloober team? Blair Witch 2019, which is kind of odd as the IP had been dead since. Alright, in 2016 there was a new movie. I forgot. It was called Blair Witch. It was like watching a parody of generic horror movies, but there were no jokes, and it was trying to take itself seriously. So, Blair Witch. Not good. Blair Witch, on the other hand, begins by letting you customize your character. With only 4 fur and eye colors to choose from, it leaves a lot to be desired. And despite being a sequel to 2004's Dogu Zuraifu, the game doesn't even let you make something that remotely resembles the original dog. You finalize your character, but then you are put in control of some guy? I think this may be a bug.
Is this a new Resident Evil? Yeah.
Bloober team wanted to take a subtle psychological horror angle.
Psychological horror.
Psychological horror. It's about walking.
Which would fit well with the first movie, but while the cast of the Blair Witch Project was slowly worn down mentally over the course of days, this guy you play as starts having mental breakdowns and psychotic episodes not even 5 minutes after setting foot in the forest. On top of this, he is having relationship issues with his wife, whom he is constantly calling and receiving text messages from on his cell phone in the middle of the woods in 1996. Things get real subtle when the Blair Witch starts sending you text messages. Well, at least you can play Snake on the phone, and it would be a solid version of Snake, but the delay between your button press, the animation of his clumsy fingers pressing the button, and the snake actually turning makes the whole thing feel very sluggish and pig disgusting. A 0 out of 10. Not recommended for high-level play. So why is this very unhinged individual heading out into the murder woods with his dog? Before the events of the game, he was a police officer, but then he shot an unarmed child in front of a convenience store and got the PTSD. The brother of the boy he shot has been kidnapped by the current Rustin Parr stand-in. Feeling obligated, he decides to help the police in their investigation. The police, however, are aware of his fruitcake brain that causes him to hallucinate ghost helicopters that shoot at him with ghost bullets. But the moment they try to tell him to go away, he finds something.
Let me see.
Okay, get a load of this. So not only does the dog bark at you and shake the hat, but the HUD also has a floating icon over the hat, along with a radial indicator of the current position of the barking dog. Very helpful. I don't know how I ever would have known to check on the dog, the only thing you can presently interact with. So this is what gaming is like in 2019. I'm pretty excited to see what other features from the future this game has in store.
Gameplay paused. You must stand up and say McDonald's to resume.
Can you pet the dog?
Oh, yes.
Can you pet the dog? Oh, no!
I failed you all. Now you have nothing.
The dog dying was all part of Not Par's master plan to groom you into being the new Not Par. Because the Blair Witch, or is it the demon, thinks you're a real swell guy for shooting that kid. And then, in the distance, IGN starts clapping loudly and convulsing because they recognize the Parr House. And then they give the game the funny
8.8
number. Oh wait, Blair Witch is a harrowing walk in the woods that deserves a spot in the horror game pantheon alongside Amnesia and Silent Hill. What, are we talking like Book of Memories and Machine for Pigs? Oh, what's this? It's actually letting you explore the house? Oh, I have a soft spot for urban exploration. Seeing all the little details they put into this rundown house is fantastic. Pleasantly surprised that 3.5 hours into this 4-hour game, it briefly resembles something enjoyable. Oh wait, never mind. It's regressed into walking down a hallway as it throws wacky effects at you. You see, the strobing lights clue you in on the subtle psychological horror that's at work here. Alright, here we are at the ending. The whole game has been hinting at that the player is being groomed to become the next Rustin Parr stand-in. But, as demonstrated through gameplay, Bloober doesn't trust the player to do anything on their own. So rather than risk players thinking for themselves and potentially misinterpreting their masterwork of a story, they decide to spoon-feed it to you. My own clone. Now, neither of us need to go another day without having our fun homework. The ultimate irony being that the intentionally ambiguous ending of the first movie is more engaging than the entirety of this allegedly interactive home computer entertainment software. A 0 out of 10. Blair Witch is a harrowing walk in the woods that deserves a spot in the harrowing walk in the woods pantheon, alongside The Darkest Night, Dark Woods, and their like. Oh wait, Blair Witch combines a pop culture classic with our own style of making games. It's a really personal project for the whole team. Your thoughts about the game mean a lot to us. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. 5 out of 10. That's all I can give you. I'm sorry.